I think it was a good thing in the way I've handled it the second time around. I was always given food at home that I couldn't digest. Eat your food. There was a war. People have died. People are starving. Eat your food. Well, it was too much for me then. See, and that's another thing. That's what parents do with children. Eat your dinner. It's like we're not all built the same to take in all the same things. So there was that, and then, so that was 8 years. And I went through, at about the 4th year, a period. I remember a girlfriend being with me, and she got me flaxseed and all this stuff, because I couldn't afford it. I was on disability in the States, and you didn't get much of anything to survive. And I remember just that whole feeling of after the 4th year, she said to me one day, "You're so beautiful." And I was thinking I still looked so awful. And I said, no, I'm not. I said, because my first years were all about being a pretty girl and, that kind of thing. And I said, I don't feel like a woman. I went through a period of feeling like an it.
That must have been very difficult.
Very difficult, because I was always very feminine, and graceful and that kind of stuff. And she said, "But you're so unusual and you're so beautiful." And I said, "Thank you, but I don't know what that means." This was on the recovering journey. And she started buying me a few clothes, because she knows how much I love to play with clothes. Doesn't have to be expensive. She would go to the secondhand stores for me, because I've always bought from the secondhand stores, and then I make my own stuff. And she was helping me come back to life. And I had gone through menopause at the same time as I was sick. So I didn't know who I was, what I was anymore. And then all of a sudden, after 4 years, it was interesting, I had no intuition either. When I did not feel like a woman, I did not have any intuition. I thought that was interesting to be aware of. Because women are more intuitive, they say. I mean, who knows? But it seems, And then I started to get my femininity back. And one of my photographers said to me, "When I look at you from a distance having a cup of coffee, it's like you're this beautiful being that you cannot touch." And I thought that was very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was a stage I was going through. And
was that part when that was that after part of your recovery or after your recovery?
Yeah, it was in the 4th year that, I got some muscle back, and then, I was still learning to eat, but then along came the feminine again, and then after 10 years of trying to have something for my depression, and I think I was kind of born depressed. I think it was part of my hereditary, but they didn't know much back then, and I don't think they really do now either, except you become a guinea pig, So I turned them all down, and then I tried to get them up by exercise and good food. That didn't work. And the doctor finally told me, he said, "I think it's because you've been starving for so long that you need some help." He said, and I liked this, he said, "If a medication for depression is working and doing the right job, it's supposed to support who you really are, not make you something other than you are." I liked that.
That sounds incredibly wise for a doctor.
Yes, I thought so. And so we did find one. And I still am on it. But it's all I'm on, and I'm 68 years old, I mean, I think that's pretty good after what I've been through, and I'm not going to rock the boat on it because it's working. I mean, I feel absolutely Diana. on this. I don't feel weird. I don't feel, it's not making me sick. It doesn't, it's just that it's kind of like, I suppose, anything. If you haven't ever been told you're a really valuable person, you need a lot of that to make up.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I imagine if you go through a long period thinking you're not valuable, it must
Yeah.
take a long time before you can accept to hear it from other people.
Accept to hear it, yeah.
Or even just realize that it applies to you.
Well, I think that's more of it with me. I've always been a gracious person. I just was born this way, and it, you know, I know how to say thank you very graciously, and I feel it, you know. But there's that part that goes when you're alone, you know. But why have I had such a hard life if people think I'm a nice person or a good person? You know, who was I around back then? Like,
and how did you resolve that? How did you resolve that? What do you think?
I think it's because I think we're born into a family. We're born into a country. We don't have a choice at that time. And I sense, like I do with my own children, that no matter what I taught them that was good, they aren't ready for some of it yet. And they're in their 40s. And I think we come in with, yes, our environment affects us big time. But also I think we have a separate entity, which is whatever our souls are really about, which is hard to describe sometimes. But I think we have our own agenda. I think we have to go through, no matter what anybody says or no matter how good something might be, there's something in our soul or our agenda for ourselves that has to, if anybody had told me I would be living the life that I have lived, I would have thought they were crazy. But when you peel back the layers and you ask the questions and you want to connect, I use that word a lot, connect. Most people aren't connected to much of what they do or who they're with, or there's just not a whole lot of it that works for people because I don't think they dare to unmask what they're told they are.
Right.
And I somehow, and that's another mystery, I'll never know, I don't think, but it's like, why was I born the way I was? I knew something was wrong with this picture at such a young age. You know, so I think we're all so preciously unique. And we can, and yet they want to put everybody in the big herd, you know, eat this, go here, be that, do this.
Be like this, like
be like
this.
this, like this. And you grow up not knowing who the heck you are.
Mm-hmm. So do you have any advice for people who want to know who they are?
Well, first of all, I don't give advice.
Okay. Do you have any observations? How's that?
I think to have a relationship, I've had so many interesting relationships in my life, but the best one of all is the one with myself. And then, because it's now good, I'm not insecure. Sure, I'm human. I have feelings. I get scared sometimes, but not fear. I think there's a difference between being scared of something, like scared to dive off the diving board or something.
That's just what I was thinking too.
Yeah, really, yeah. And so I think it's you know, I think so much is done out of fear. And instead of being able to say, let me think about that, or I don't think so, you know, wanting to be popular. Excuse me, you know.
Yeah. Fear of being alone, fear of not being accepted.
Now, thank you for that one. Fear of being alone. Huge. Huge. And being alone, when you choose to be alone, and even when you don't, if you use that time to feel the fear of being alone. I think most people are with other people because they're afraid of being alone.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, you feel that too.
Well, I think I've got a whole. We could we could spend another 2 hours
Yes,
talking about that.
exactly, yeah.
Because I'm actually a fairly I've got two sides. I love socializing, but
Yeah,
I'm also
yeah.
generally a very solitary person.
Solitary person.
What I think I've been working on, and I've really never suffered almost no abuse in my life, but what I think I've had to work on is that my parents were always very big on roles. I grew up in Edmonton in the 70s. My parents, my dad grew up on a Badlands farm in northeastern Alberta, and my mom grew up in Edmonton, but with a very poor family. They were always very into security, but it always felt like there were roles. Like even
yes.
I feel like I'm 39 and I'm only starting to begin to learn what my parents are like as people.
Yes.
I knew them as the role of mother and
Of
father.
mother and father.
I know how to play the role of the good son. I know
Yeah.
how to play the role of the good employee. I know how to play the role of the good
Yeah.
boyfriend and all this.
Yeah.
And my challenge has been getting past that because
that, yeah.
I don't think I'm really I play roles very well.
Same here.
But I don't think that it's really a part of my nature, and so it's sort of, for me, it's kind of finding a balance of who am I, but also to be able to continue to have respectful relationships,
Exactly.
to make sure that my own personal needs aren't going to hurt somebody else,
Or vice versa.
or vice versa.
And I think that's to do with, that whole thing about people coming together, whether it's a man and a woman or whatever. It's like, I think it's based on something that isn't very solid. It's usually a person that doesn't feel really good about themselves and another person that doesn't feel really good about themselves, trying to fill each other's places, holes, whatever you want to call it. And that's not where I am anymore. Like, let's use you and I as an example.
Okay.
I think a healthy relationship, no matter what it's about or wherever it is, you come together where it works for both. I don't believe in sacrifice. It all in the name of love, I just think that's so old. It's so controlling. It is so religion and politics and all of that stuff. It's like when I say get together with you, I want to know it's because my heart wants to, not because I have to.
Right.
Not because I should.
It brings a whole different intention to the meeting.
In fact, I have come to the conclusion that if I was fortunate enough to have one male person in my life again, I don't even want us to come together until those moments when we both really want to. Not when one of us wants it, but when both of us want it. I think we will give each other energy. We will remember it because it sustains us, it feeds us, because we're both happy in coming together. When you marry or live inside of the same home all the time, who said that precedence about that you gotta learn? I would rather live separately, be absolutely delighted every time two people saw each other. You learn from each other, you share what you've been through, you support each other on each separate journey as you're one, but not becoming the same journey. We're not the same people.
Yeah.
We've all got our uniqueness, and that's a wonderful thing.